Well, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Thank you. I'm not ready for primetime players today. On Thursday, this past Thursday, I entered a world of mud, a little bit unexpectedly. I was a guest at Quinn's preschool in Brookline for their Lunar New Year celebration. Quinn was, of course, very cute in her red Chinese outfit, and the children sang a song of Happy New Year in English and Chinese. Quinn kind of stumbled over the Chinese. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And of course, in the parade, she was a fantastic lantern girl in the parade. But I need to tell you about the mud at this school. I came in and I didn't see a lot of grass. In fact, I saw like mud under the swings and mud over by structures and a hopping course on mud, like stumps you can hop from. It was like mud was everywhere. Every day, the children at the school play outside in the dirt or the snow. Every day, every day. Here we have a beautiful gym. They don't have a gym there. They just throw them outside in the dirt. In fact, that's the philosophy of the school, is that the children need to be in contact with dirt, For the Children's Center of Brookline, dirt, earth, and mud are considered necessary for children's growth and character formation. Maybe healing? Mud? Let's think about it. A man is born blind. He's healed by Jesus. Jesus spits in the earth and makes this paste out of the spit and the mud pie, puts it on a man's face, tells him to wash in the pool of Siloam. The blind man went, he washed and he saw, he was healed. I see at least two meanings for mud at this point. One, it's dirty. It's unclean. We even have stuff to wash it off right away up here. It's fear of getting dirty, impure. Also, mud, children playing in the mud, joyful, engaging with, like jumping into a puddle, throwing yourself in fully, not having fear, taking risks. So I see these both meanings with mud. Now the authorities in the gospel story that our players read for us today, they want to say clean and pure. They want to be careful. They want to do the right thing. They don't know what to do with this Jesus who does not play by the rules. The authorities are full of fear. They're operating by fear. So they challenge the man's story. They also challenge his parents. His parents react in fear, but the man, he doesn't react the way the parents do, right? He's been freed from fear. But the authorities, they want a different story, so they want a new confession. They bring him into the interrogation room and questioning. They say, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? And I find that it's amazing that he says this back to the people who could detain him easily, kick him and his family out of the community. He says, I told you over and over, you haven't listened. Do you want to hear it again? Why? Are you so eager to become his disciples? Saying that to the people, authorities? What an incredible, I find that to be an incredible transformation. A blind man who had been begging, who people would walk by, maybe ignoring, maybe spitting sometimes. Now can see clearly. Now he has no fear. No fear. He speaks back to the leaders who have all this power. He's been set free, healed. No fear through mud and Jesus. Now in Genesis, we hear about mud. We hear about how God knelt down and formed humanity from the dust of the ground and breathed new life into humans as humanity was created. And from the prophet Isaiah, we also hear about mud. We recall, the prophet Isaiah recalls the Exodus of the people of God who were rescued through the middle of the sea. That was mud. That was their path to freedom. They went from a place of slavery to freedom, from no hope to hope, walking through mud. So we hear mud in Genesis, mud in the Exodus story, mud recalled by the prophet Isaiah, and mud today in our story from John. When I joined a service trip to La Romana in the Dominican Republic some years ago, I found myself living in mud right away when I went down there. A group of us from central Massachusetts, we left in a snowstorm and landed in a place of excruciating heat. And all of us North Americans, we had to wear special cloths on the back of our necks so that our skin wouldn't peel off every day. We were working to build a hospital clinic for Haitians that were living in the Dominican Republic and were basically economic slaves harvesting sugarcane. And we were just, the lowest of the low. They had no health care, no help at all from the people in the Dominican Republic who looked down at them also. And they had nothing. They invited us to their homes. Dirt floors, mud. That's all they could have, mud for floors. And so we worked long hours with dirt, with cement, building the ground floor for what would become the Buen Samaritano, the Good Samaritan Health Clinic. And all of our work was by hand. There was no power equipment, nothing electric, nothing by gas. Wheelbarrow, shovels, pail by pail, making cement. We worked in teams with some of the Haitian men from the community under a sun that just melted me. And while we began every day in our mission center in town, clean at a Bible study, by the end of the day, we'd be just like caked in dirt, caked in mud. I became very close to those communities, and they call them the bates for the Haitians, and also close to the communities that I went down with. I got to know Mark really well. He was a fellow youth minister from a Baptist church. And one day, he and I were the last two to leave the work site. And people took a picture of us because we were literally just covered in mud, head to toes. And as we walked along, we became a little stiff because the mud was mixed with cement. And then we noticed a little trail of blood. Because now, and we started laughing because we figured out that our cement shells, as we walked, were now scraping our skin inside. And so it was just like mud, dirt, sweat, blood. And we're just like laughing, and getting ready to go back the next day. We just laughed. We just threw ourselves into the mud. I have to tell you, that was probably one of the best weeks of my life. It really was. And today, it was amazing, communities and dinners that night on dirt floors, and we're just so engaged. We just threw ourselves into the work. And today, this hospital, Buen Samaritano, provides medical care to thousands, including underserved populations in those Bate communities that are still kept in economic slavery. And still today, in 2026, I just checked, international medical teams are still rotating in there, providing health care to the poorest of the poor. Mud. Healing. And I think of one of my heroes of the faith, John Lewis in the civil rights marches for freedom. And again, you've probably seen the videos, he would be thrown to the ground, either by racist counter-protesters or police under orders. He'd be thrown to the ground, his head would be, he would be eating mud, eating dirt. What a gift, John Lewis and Martin Luther, and the thousands that marched for civil rights, the passage that finally happened in 1964. No fear, again, tasting that mud again and again. Our news today gives us lots of things to fear. I mean, take your pick. What do you want to fear? What do you want to fear? Just one, the Iran war is just, you cannot escape it. Today is day 15 of the U.S.-Israeli war into Iran. We certainly grieve the loss of 13 U.S. service members and their families and the grief that they're going through. We grieve the loss of all those schoolgirls killed with the precision strike of the U.S. Tomahawk missile. We grieve all the Iranian drones that are targeting all the Gulf nations. Some have even struck the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. There's now an evacuation of all Americans from the embassy in that part of Iraq. We're fearful of nuclear weapons, of Iran getting nuclear weapons, using them on us, the closing off of the world's 20% of the world's oil supplies. There are many things to fear, so much to fear. So, can we see clearly what to do in this world of fear? What can we do? I don't know about you, but I was absolutely amazed by some of the scenes from the Paralympics. And this tells us what to do. The Paralympics, the Winter Olympics in northern Italy this past week, blind skiers, can you imagine? They're going down, they clock them over 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. They're blind. They're making the gates back and forth. And I had to say, how can they do this? How can they do this? Ahead of them goes a guide. The guide has a helmet with a microphone. And so the guide, who is like an Olympic level champion, who probably was just skiing the previous week, is going through these gates and says left. And so the person behind them goes left. And then they say right, goes right. And so you're hurtling down an Olympic slope. You cannot see anything. And sometimes when you're going through the gates, you know how sometimes they clip the gates? So you just listen to your guide who told you to turn left, and now you're going 100 kilometers an hour. You smash partly into a gate. You didn't see that coming because you didn't see anything coming. It just hits you. If you keep going and you keep trusting your guide. And I watched the video of Chiara Mazzo. It was just an amazing video. And I watched Chiara Mazzo follow her guide, Nicola Cotini, down an Olympic Super G. Now, Chiara could not see those gates. Sometimes her body she would lean over, and it's not like the gentle ski, they're like leaning way over. Their edges are cutting in, smashing. She's blind. She's coming down. Bam! She hits the gate again. 60 miles an hour. Boom! 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 5 days ago, Chiara won gold. With a guide, she did not have to be afraid, even when things were hitting her. With a guide, we do not have to be afraid. We can throw ourselves in fully. No fear. And more than ever before, our neighbors, our world needs us to be following our guide Jesus. Love God, love neighbor. Throw ourselves fully into kindness. Jump all the way into caring for our neighbor. Jump into the muddy puddle. Service trips. Tough fights for civil rights and more. You see, what I find amazing in this healing account that we read today, it's incredible that the blind man was healed and can see. What I find even more incredible, he's been set free from fear. Even inviting the people interrogating him that have power over him. Do you want to hear about this Jesus too, who has set me free? Yes, he can see, but he has been set free. He has been set free. And our world needs us to listen to the directions of our guide. Turn left, love God. Turn right, love neighbor. We could follow our guide, Jesus, all the way to victory. Thanks be to God.